Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. You believe it? It's almost school time. Summer's over. I know some kids have already started school. I just can't believe, like, where is this year going? Started knitting people. Lots joining. I have some ideas of September classes. The consent form and recordings and CMS regulations is still something people are constantly asking about. So I will go over that again, just because open enrollment will be coming. CMS, in their wisdom, is making it gray. And it's honestly because they don't really know either. So, don't be panicking too much, but we'll go over that, just some best practices, how to do that. Educating your clients, why to educate. There is a reason besides just being a nice person. It will actually help you retain business. They won't be tricked by those ads that they see, or maybe they'll see an ad and they'll go, I'm gonna call my agent. I'm gonna see if this is legit. Hey, in fact, I had somebody call, ask me about something with groceries, and in Wisconsin, we don't have any of that. So it was like, thank you, glad you asked. So there is reasons for educating, reaching out to your current clients now. This September 21st, we're talking about that. Don't wait. The sooner you start talking to them, the sooner you start prepping them, getting them ready. The marketplace starts sending out those emails, massive amounts of emails. It's going to make your clients anxious. And so if you reach out, I got this, I got you, it will help them stay with you, trust you, and relax. It kind of just lowers the pressure. Those of you who have done an open enrollment with 1 or 2 clients, not such a big deal. Once you start getting into 100 or more, it's crazy. I, for many years, had 900 individual clients on the marketplace, and 3 years was 900 by myself, no assistant, no agent. So I have some ideas. I did get an assistant and it's gotten better. So I will give you some of our best practices, things to think about, especially as you are new and you're growing. Like, where do you want to go with this? Are you 100 is the most I want to do? That's very different than I want 3,000. I think I talked to somebody at the conference. She's typically on here. I think what she said, she wants like 6,000. I'm like, you go, girl. So there's different strategies depending on how you want to do it. And then renewals. So the best ideas, best practices, things to think about. Health Sherpa starting to do some stuff. I'm still not all the way into Insura enough to know what they're doing, but they're with the CMS regulations. So these are some of the upcoming classes in September. And then October will be very much renewal. I can't help you in your state, but if you're in Wisconsin, I can really help you. I can tell you exactly what I do. So those are some of the upcoming classes. It's nice to see faces. Everybody who's logged on and I can see a face, thank you. I hate just looking at a name, it's just weird. So you're all welcome to show me your lovely faces, even if you're hiding under a blanket and still in bed. Hey, that works for me. So today we are talking about short-term policies. So I'm going to assume that you don't really sell short-term. Okay, you're not a short-term expert. If you are, awesome. If you've got opinions at the end, you can kind of pop in your experience, please do. But I'm kind of going on the assumption that many of you are new at the short-term or confused, and then there's regulations happening. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm still letting people in. So I think everybody's muted, so it's good. So just let you know, there is regulations possibly happening with short-term policies. The assumption is if it happens and it goes through, it's probably not going to affect the beginning of 2024. So what I'm telling you right now is basing that is happening. So you're in your underwear, TR? All right. So anyways, I'm in my underwear too. I just have other things on top of my underwear. So, but yeah, so the short-term policies are I don't know, they come up in controversy. Now, that being said, you are going to have to figure out your state regulations. So every state is different. Some states are 3 months only. That's it. You are not going to get it for longer than 3 months for whatever reason. They've just decided it is. It just is what it is. So, okay, and that's your state. If you live in a state that lets you do 3 years in a row, excellent. You can sign somebody up, and it's a really nice, they call it bridge to Medicare. Somebody's turning 62 and they don't want to have to worry about anything for 3 years before they go on to Medicare, and you can just sign them up. I'm like, okay, works for me, right? And then you've got states like Wisconsin, where we're allowed to do 364 days, 1 day short of a year. It just, I don't know. It is what it is. They have their their reasons. So every state's different. So make sure you read your state's regulations. Short terms are brilliant for a couple of situations. I've got 2 months left before my Medicare starts. I'm leaving my employer coverage. I have 2 months. I don't go to the doctor. I'm healthy. I've had everything done. I might have a couple prescriptions. Do I need to give you all the tax stuff and all that stuff? That's what short terms were made for. Somebody who's between jobs. I just got hired, and it's going to be 60 days or 90 days before my insurance starts. I want it just in case. I'm healthy. I don't go to the doctor. We have a 3-month supply of our, high blood pressure med. That is what short terms are made for. The other one that we see a lot is somebody who's 35 and younger and makes really good money, and they don't get a tax credit, and they don't go to the doctor, and they're really healthy. So they're like, well, I can get you on the marketplace. It's about $300, maybe $365, or here's a short-term policy for $150. The deductible is $5,000. The marketplace max out of pocket's $9,000. Like, well, okay, why wouldn't I put them in that? That is the best plan for them. Do you do your annual? No. Well, okay. Or you might have to pay for your annual, because remember, short terms cover annuals. I love it when somebody's like, oh, short term didn't cover something. Well, it covered it. It just wasn't free. It applied towards your deductible. So that's when short terms work really, really well, is those 3 categories. Somebody who's just needs it for a month or two, or they need it for a full year and they don't go to the doctor. The thing I like about short term is there is a cap. Now, I've got some who she wanted a $10,000 cap. And I'm like, okay, that $10,000 out of pocket is if you end up in the ER because this horse, she actually has horses, steps on your foot or kicks you, you're gonna have to pay $10,000. And she's like, I'm willing to risk it. I haven't gone to the doctor in 15 years. She doesn't do her annual. I'm like, okay. And then I put an accident policy on it. Every short-term company, you can add an accident. Some it's just connected, like Pivot, it's not a separate accident policy. It's a policy that's connected to the short-term, and when the short-term ends, the accident ends. United Healthcare, they're short-term. When that policy ends, the accident policy ends. NatGen has a separate one. So you have their short term, and then you buy an accident policy, and their accident policy can be just accident. You can also easily add critical illness and hospital stay, and that will continue. So your short term ends, but the accident and all that extra stuff continues. So there are different ways of doing it. You can stack it, so it's a separate policy and continues, or it just ends when the short term ends. My staff and I have pretty much gotten into the habit of quoting short terms with the accident rider on there. It just, even her, my $10,000 person, she doesn't want to spend any money on this health insurance. And I said, it's, I don't know what it was. Let's just say it's $35 for a $10,000 accident policy. She was like, well, okay, you're right. If the horse steps on me, I fall off the horse. Okay, well, that's an accident, right? So always just stick it on there. I don't know if I've had anybody take it off. I don't know, Josh, have you had anyone take it off yours when you put that accident? It's so inexpensive, and they see it, right? They're healthy. So they kind of, in their head, the reason they're going to go to the doctor is because they had an accident. Now, it's not going to help them if they have a heart attack. You know, if they have gallbladder, then they got to have gallbladder surgery. You know, but so short terms, I personally think you should always have an accident on there. Feel free to put the hospital in there. The thing is, I just think too many agents haven't explained how short terms work to their clients. And so it's gotten back to Congress that it's bad, right? This is a horrible thing. And it's not. It's just if you don't understand how it works, then it's a little weird. You know, if you think you're signing up for marketplace insurance, that's going to be no preventative or free preventative and cover pre-existings. And then all of a sudden you find out, oh, you have a pre-existing and now that insurance is like, we're not paying. Okay, that means an agent didn't explain this well. So the clients that, and I have clients that have been in short-term policies for 7 years. They just, every year we switch them, we put them into a new one. They healthy, they don't go to the doctor. And even then, I always, when it's time to renew, have you had anything? Has anything happened? I've seen one lady, something happened to her eye, some weird infection. And she's like, it was great. It covered everything. And now I'm clear. And she could get another short term because it was kind of a one-time thing. It was all cleared up. And then I've had some who's like, yep, had a stroke, had this happen, the short term worked. And I go, all right. And now we're going on the marketplace. Right. But now they've gone through that. They've understood, okay, you know, the short terms are for healthy individuals. That's who it's for. It's not for somebody who goes to the doctor. Now, in my state, there's 3 main short-term carriers, and I think they're in most of the states that allow that. I know Virginia, Washington, there's a lot that only allow 3 states, but you have United Healthcare, Pivot, and Allstate. They all tend to work the same way. Now, they all have different plans and all that stuff. Be aware that the deductible and the max out of pocket are not accumulating at the same time unless it says. So on the marketplace, it says a $5,000 deductible, max out of pocket is $9,000. Well, they're together, right? The 5,000 and 9, once you reach 5, you're still got to 9 and you're done. That's not how short-term works. Short-term says $5,000 deductible, 10,000 max out of pocket. So you're thinking, all right, they reach their 5 and then they have another 5. No, they reach their 5,000 and then they have another 10,000. So their max out of pocket is actually 15,000. And then, well, is this a HSA plan? I mean, that's pretty high deductible. It is not a qualified high deductible plan. I've had clients come to me who had a $10,000 deductible plan and another 10,000 out of pocket because it was 20. They thought it was 10 and were told that was a high deductible plan by the agent. The agent told them they could put that into an HSA. You can't. It is not a qualified plan. And if I need to talk about HSAs, let me know. I can put that in the list of things to do, to touch on. HSAs have very strict regulations. Now it's an honor system. The government is assuming that you know what you're talking about, but if they audit you and you are not in an HSA qualified plan and you were putting money, you're going to get fined, you're going to have taxes, it's going to be an issue, right? And if the IRS sees you doing one thing wrong, they're going to dig a little bit. They're like, I'm here, I already found some wrongs, so I might as well really dig. So make sure you know what an HSA is. And again, if I need to, please let me know. I will be happy to explain HSAs at a later date. Short terms do not qualify. It doesn't matter that it's a high deductible. I've seen $20,000 deductible short terms. It's not a high deductible plan that qualifies for that HSA, that tax deduction. Now, there are multiple ways of doing short term. So in my state, like I said, you have 364 days. Let's assume for this example, I'm going to give you 2 different examples. Somebody comes in November and they're really healthy and they want to start at January 2nd and they want to run it through the year. Don't go to the doctor. I'm really healthy. I've had my annual, I got a year before Medicare or whatever. Can I do this? Yes. So there's 364 days that you can be covered. Except leap year, pay attention to that. Then there's 2 days that they don't have covered. So I start them on either January 2nd or January 3rd. That's when I start it so that it covers them for the entire year. But then you also enroll them in a marketplace plan that starts January 1st. Don't pay it. You just enroll them. If anything happens between the time you talk to them, November 15th and January 2nd, if anything's happened, The short term is now no longer cannot be a thing. The short term will not cover you or cover anything that happens prior to when your effective date. Well, now they're calling you on January 2nd going, hey, I can't because I broke my leg, no, December 30th. And the short term is like, not going to take them. No problem. I already have you enrolled in a marketplace plan. Now you just need to pay it. But okay, now you pay it. There's a binder time frame, about 15 days for some carriers. There is in my state, I think every single one of them says 30 days. So they have 30 days. They have till January 31st to pay, or even January 10th. Well, by then you'll know, right? So they get the letter that says, send in your invoice. And I told them, don't just hold it. Everything's healthy on the 3rd. Just take that letter, throw it away. If they don't pay it, it's not effectuated. Whatever carrier you sent it to will then just drop them. There's no penalty. It doesn't get sent to collections, but you protected them just in case. Now you have to explain it to them. I'm enrolling you in 2 plans. One is the one we want, but this is the reason why, because your short term doesn't cover pre-existing. And if anything happens in November, December, or January 1st, we still have you covered. Well, that's 2 things. One, you've protected them. You've shown them you've protected them, and then you just educated them what short terms are, right? There are ways of doing short-term policies with that $20,000 deductible. Now, they're not much cheaper, so I'm not sure when I would do that. But you can also layer, if you have somebody who's never going to go on the marketplace, whatever reasons, they're just going to be, because, I'll tell you in a sec, Jill. For whatever reason, they're just not gonna. They make too much money and they don't go to the doctor. So they don't get the tax credit. They don't want to deal with that. They just want their short term. You can layer an indemnity plan, a hospital indemnity plan. It's actually a very nice layering with a short term. So hospital indemnities, the positive of them is that once you sign up, you have it. There's no end. The negative is there is no cap. There's no ceiling. So they end up in the hospital and their bill is $50.
Well, and that's why I think
somebody's loud. There we go. Mutant Dave. So once they're in the hospital, there's no cap. The indemnity plans do not have contracts. They don't say once you've reached $20,000, now it's free. Okay. But they do pay the first time you go to the doctor. Well, a short term doesn't, right? I mean, there are some that have some copay plans, but most people take the short term that has a $5,000 deductible or $10,000 or $7,500, whatever it is. If you layer that with an indemnity plan, so when they go to the doctor and the bill's $100 and they get $80 from the indemnity plan, they're happy. But then they have the short term to protect them if something catastrophic happens. They get cancer. They end up in the hospital. I mean, I ended up in the hospital on January 2nd, and I ended up I had a gallstone trying to visit my pancreas. Oh, okay. Wasn't good. It was kind of a one-off thing. I was there for 3 days and then had surgery, and I had an indemnity plan. And after what they paid, I still owe $25,000. Now, math-wise, I was ahead. I was about the same if I had been paying the marketplace full cost for as many years as I didn't qualify for tax credit. But I'm never going to do that again. I personally don't like saying the hospital indemnity is your standalone. There are agents who do, and there's companies who do, right? I mean, if the different companies that sell indemnity plans, they're going to tell you, no, it's perfectly fine. Of course, they're going to tell you that. But as an agent, having done it myself, having experienced what that was like, I don't like not having a ceiling. I want that cap, even if it's 50,000 or 20,000. Even if it was 20,000, I wouldn't be having to pay as much out of pocket. So you can layer a really high deductible short-term plan with an indemnity plan. And then next year, you just kind of switch the short terms back and forth. So Jill, you said, why do I start the short term on January 2nd or 3rd? The reason why is because if it's only covering them for a year minus a day, I would rather they didn't have short term January 1st than not have short term January or December 31st. Because December 31st, they are completely SOL. If they had something that happened on December 30th, the insurance paid for 1 day, but they're still doing it on the 31st, they could rack up a lot of bills on the 31st before the marketplace starts on the 1st. Since I started on the 2nd, I do that short-term or the marketplace. I just enroll them in a plan, usually the cheapest bronze plan, like I just got you covered. And if they do need it, let's just say, and it's happened once to me, a woman was diagnosed with cancer right after the first of the year, before her short term. We can move them, right? We have till December 15th is technically the open enrollment period. So that is why I'd rather they be floating the insurance for the first or the second on leave year, and then be completely covered till the end of the year. So short terms, and Maureen, you said, does indemnity plans have underwriting? Yes, both short term and indemnity plans will have underwriting. Neither one of them is going to cover pre-existing. Now, some won't cover it for a 5-year look back, some 2-year look back. And same with indemnities. They're not going to cover pre-existing conditions. Now, I'm going to say this because I have it starred. I kept this email. If somebody is on blood pressure meds and they have a heart attack, it is covered. Okay. That is not a pre-existing. If they have high blood pressure and they don't have medication, then they're in trouble. Medication says it's fine. Okay. That's not a pre-existing for a heart attack. Okay, so I've seen that rumor go around. I've asked all 3 of my insurance carriers. They've all sent it to me that no, if somebody's on high blood pressure meds and has a heart attack, they would be covered. Okay, now not if they've had other heart issues. That's part of the underwriting. It says, have they had, diagnoses of other things? If they already have a heart thing going on, heart murmur, it's not going to be covered. But that's a pre-existing. They shouldn't be in that plan. So back to my 2 ways of doing short term. So that's for a whole year. The other thing is somebody comes in June, July, February, March, whatever it is, and they need a short-term plan. Even if they're going to need a short-term plan the next year, sign them up for when they need it and end it December 31st or January 1st. Because again, if you just go, I'm going to sign you up for a year starting July, that means on June 30th, their plan is over. They have a pre-existing that just happened in that last year. Now, what are you going to do? You can't get them a short term. You can't get them an indemnity plan. Yes, right now, healthcare.gov system is broken or not on purpose. And you can call and anybody and their brother can get on it right now. Okay, anybody can, but that's going to disappear. It's partly because of the Medicaid rollback. It's going to come back. They're going to start saying, show us your documentation that shows you had a qualified plan. Short-term is not a qualified plan. So always end their insurance on like the 31st or the 1st. I mean, the 31st, if they're going to go on the marketplace the following year, the 1st or 2nd, if they're going to go on to another if the plan is to go on to another short-term policy. And then you're going to have to switch. You don't want to have it be in the middle of the year. I had a lady that happened to. Fortunately, I kind of was able, it was February, so I was kind of able to manipulate the system. And it was totally an accident on her part. She thought she was canceling her short term and she canceled the marketplace. And I was able to do it. But if I had not, I don't know what would have happened to her. She would have racked up bills. She wouldn't have, there was a medication she needed. There's no way she would have paid for it. So protect your clients. They don't know any better. You are the only one who knows what's happening. So if you can't protect them, because you're not really sure how a plan works, don't do it. Hi, Noah. Just saw my nephew peeking in. They don't know. It's your job to protect them. It's not their job to protect you. It's not their job to know, right? You are the insurance expert. So question, can you layer a NatGen Trio Med, for instance, with a hospital indemnity and use both in the event of an accidental injury? Correct. You can layer them. Indemnity plans, accident policies, critical illness policies, short-term do not coordinate benefits. So you can layer as much as those. Now, I don't think you need to layer them to the, nth degree. But yes, you can layer them and they pay at the same time. United Healthcare has a policy. I kind of wish the other 2 had it as well. It's in the short-term realm. So unfortunately it's only good for 1 year, but they have a hospital rider short-term. It's perfect to go with an indemnity plan. So if somebody already has an indemnity plan, they like that. I still have some clients from when the short terms could only be 3 months. And that one is again, to protect them from when they go into the hospital. And that one's fairly inexpensive. And you can choose a $5,000, I think, or $10,000 deductible, but it's only for going into the hospital. Okay, great. It's a little less than a traditional short term. There are ways of layering, the more you know your products, the more you're going to know how to protect people. So let's see, Jill, makes sense. Are you going to provide examples of stacking an indemnity plan with short term? In some ways, I know I love visuals too, but the problem with that is I only know my state, and your state's going to be different. Just know if it's a $10,000 or $5,000, you should be telling them, now you are on the hook for $5,000. And if it's a $5,000 deductible and a $10,000 max out of pocket, you're on the hook for 15. Let's add this accident. Let's add a $10,000 accident. Let's add a hospital, all of them have it. So Pivot has it, Allstate has it, and United Healthcare. I mean, they purposely put those things to protect, because honestly, it saves them money too. It kind of helps them and it gives them a good reputation. Tina, what if they have high cholesterol but have never taken statins? That's kind of the issue. If you have a diagnosis of high cholesterol or blood pressure and you don't take a medication, you're actually at a risk of it being considered a pre-existing, because you're not doing the treatments you need to resist what could happen. I found this out from Manhattan Underwriting. So Manhattan has an indemnity plan. Palick has an indemnity plan. Allstate has one. I think Pivot does. A lot of them do. And I've talked to a lot of the underwriters. If it's considered managed because they are taking those pills, then they're good. But it's considered unmanaged if they aren't. And I will tell you, if somebody's on, I know if they're on 4, but I think it's even 3. If they're on 3 or 4 blood pressure meds, that's considered not stable either. And most underwriting won't pass. There are 2 types, since we're just talking about underwriting really quick. The short-term companies, they underwrite in 2 different ways. So United Healthcare underwrites before the policy goes into effect. And so you fill them up, you send the application, and then United Healthcare goes, all right, now we're going to look them up. We're going to look at the prescription list. They all look at the prescription lists out there. They may look at their doctor's notes. If they had United Healthcare as a group, guess what the short-term United Healthcare has? Access to all the notes. So they do their underwriting, and if they say, yep, I will say they're perfect. They will pay the bill. They did their due diligence before the insurance kicked in. And I've never had United Healthcare fight or not pay once somebody's accepted. But they will also say no if they feel somebody's going to be a risk. I've had 2 people, one had cancer 15 years previously, had not had treatments in 15 years. They denied her because of the cancer, even though the underwriting says 5 years. And you can fight it. It's not worth fighting. You're not going to win against United Healthcare. And I've had some people denied because she went to Freighter, which is kind of the big flagship hospital of Wisconsin, and she thought she was having a heart attack, and it turned out to be heartburn. She was denied. Now that note was because she came from a group policy, but United Healthcare was thinking, this woman's going to run to the doctor for everything. That's my guess for their underwriting department. So that's how United Healthcare does their underwriting. The other ones, Allstate, Pivot, they ask the questions at the front end. You say no, 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 no. And they go, all right, we are believing you. Then when an incident happens, whatever it is, now they're going to dig through the records. Now they're going to see. So it takes longer. The claims will take a bit longer because now they're going to go see, hey, you just ended up in the hospital for gallstones. Have you been dealing with gallstones for the last 5 years? So now they're going to underwrite after the fact. So again, let your client know that's how the process works. We've had United Healthcare that's denied people, and then we put them in a different policy because it doesn't always tell us. United Healthcare, HIPAA, they're not going to tell you why, but you can talk to your client and you can say, I just got notice that United Healthcare is saying no, but they sent you the reason why. You don't have to tell me, but if you do, I can help determine if we can get you in a different policy. So like my lady who had cancer 15 years ago, okay, I got her in with a different policy because I'm like, well, it's only a 5-year look back. So, and then we've had others that, oh yeah, there's this stupid medication that they didn't tell me about that they don't think of that, okay, I can't get you into any short-term policy. I don't know if I've ever had a client not tell me, maybe one, and then it was, okay, let's just look at a different option. Gail, can I sign someone up for the marketplace at this time if she does not have an SEP? Yep, you can. And if you're not comfortable doing it, have them call healthcare.gov and they will do it. So you do have to state they're losing coverage and it will just enroll people. And that is actually what healthcare.gov is doing. Their system is actually still dumb. They're still, Health Sherpa is better than what they're seeing, but that's what they're doing. The Triomed is lame. Yes, Brian, so we don't have Triomed in Wisconsin. That's the 3 thing, but the accident and the SEP, the riders, so the Allstate riders are now all guaranteed. Now it won't cover pre-existing, but it's guaranteed to get in, right? So they're not going to cover if you're going through treatment of something right now, but they will still take you. And a lot of riders won't. United Healthcare had some guaranteed issue as well, which I think is August 31st. We're going to talk about looking at those guaranteed issue products. But yes, they are, Brian's saying it's typically more expensive for less. That is true because now they're guaranteed. So they have a pool of people who are going to be sick and not sick. So they have to have enough in there to pay for people who currently have stuff when normally they would kick them out. I don't know that I would do a guaranteed issue. In fact, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't if somebody's healthy. Put them in the pool of the other healthy people, the rate's going to be a little bit lower. But if somebody has something and they're not going to pass that, now we have some guaranteed issues. And they already know the value of having something covered, not having to spend money out of their pocket because they already are. So guaranteed issues can be great. Sharon, are there short terms that cover meds? If so, my assumption is that if it exists, it would not be covered as a pre-X. And those, yeah, you hate post-claims underwriting. Me too. There are some that cover some prescriptions. So look at them. Typically, and I think my brother can attest to this, if they have a prescription that's a statin and it's a blood pressure, all that stuff, it's cheaper to just pay cash. Like, don't pay for the insurance company that has a prescription writer on it. You're paying probably 40, 50 bucks a month more, maybe more, when you could just go to the local pharmacy and pay 12 bucks for cash. So use GoodRx. There's a lot of prescription options now. There's the one on Amazon. I think it's like $5 and it's on pretty much every generic's free. There's lots of options. So while some of the short terms do have that kind of as one of their option writers, I've never sold it because it's so much cheaper to pay cash. Chanel asking, how do we say they lost Medicaid coverage? If they did lose Medicaid coverage, sure, but you would just say they lost coverage. It's people walk in, we still ask them to bring their letter showing that their employer coverage in, and we go in there and we say it ends, and you all have done this. Has it asked for a document? I don't think it's asked for a document in 2.5 years. It did for a very short time, and then which was like, oh, I guess they are now, and then suddenly it wasn't again. So they're not asking for proof. Like I said, if you are not comfortable doing that, have them call healthcare.gov. Give them your NPN. Say, here, call healthcare.gov. Tell them to add me as your agent. Here is my NPN number so that I can help you throughout the year. Then healthcare.gov did it. You can pull them into Sherpa. And now you have a client. Sharon, it says if you say they lost coverage, do you need to put the company? No, you don't ever have to put the name of the company. The only time you're ever putting in information is when they work for an employer, right? You have to put the name of the employer and a phone number. If it says optional, people, you don't have to enter it. If it says optional, it is optional. That's why you don't have to say if somebody's pregnant. Like, please don't mark that they're pregnant. It's just going to put them in the Medicaid system, and you know your state better. And as I posted in a Facebook group recently, it says you don't have to. It says if so-and-so is pregnant and she wants to stay with her current insurance, you don't have to say you're pregnant. So you can ask them though, do you want to go on Medicaid if your state does that? And if they're like, yes, all right, mark they're pregnant. But you don't have to. Tina, I have a family of 3 who missed ACA, open enrollment. Are you saying they can still enroll in ACA without an SP? Yep, that's what I'm saying. It's a glitch. take advantage of the glitch. It's their system. How can they hold us accountable for their system? Now, again, you can have them call healthcare.gov. You do not have to do it. A guy had a high expensive med. The generic site told him to pay cash. So if they have a high expensive medication, what's it for? Because that sounds like a pre-existing. If they have rheumatoid arthritis, those are some very expensive medications. They shouldn't be on a short term. So what is that expensive medication for should dictate. There is a prescription company called Pram, P-R-A-M. It does have some expensive medications coverage. You have to kind of decide. I don't know that it's good for generics, but when you get contracted, the nice thing about Pram is you can punch in the prescriptions and it will show you exactly what it will cost with Pram at the pharmacies. And sometimes it is cheaper than cash in GoodRx. So P-R-A-M. Another website I really like is totalcaremart.com. So total as in all of it, care, C-A-R-E, mart, totalcaremart.com. It is a legit Canadian pharmacy. They have excellent customer service. They're really easy to work with. Just like all the other ones, though, they can't do anything that needs to be refrigerated and they can't do narcotics. But other than that, they do have some of those expensive medications, and we've used it for Medicare, people who hit the donut hole, and GoodRx has kind of made us use them less, but they are still an option. The other thing that's really nice about Total Care Mart is that sometimes we in America have something that's listed as a brand drug, and there is a generic. It's just not available here. You go to Total Care Mart, it'll say, brand drug option, $500, generic version, $200. What? There's a generic version? So you can use Total Care Mart partly to get that less expensive medication. And then that just kind of side note, tell your people to go to the pharmacist. If they have expensive medications, they should always be asking their pharmacist, is there an alternative that's less expensive? Doctors are not going to tell them most of the time. They only know about the medications that have been told to them by the pharmaceutical company, right? The pharmacist, that's all they do. They just deal with prescriptions. So they can always, pharmacists should be the number one resource for medications, not doctors. But unfortunately, we kind of think doctors know everything. Tell your clients to talk to the pharmacist. A common issue I run into is folks needing RX under 65 but can't afford medical or ACA. Any options besides GoodRx, which there was a standalone PDP? Yep. So that would be the Pram, P-R-A-M. That is a standalone RX company, and it is a true prescription company. They do have a coupon option, but they do have true medications. Though I would say, why can't they afford medical or ACA? Because they make too much, or they don't make enough. Can someone change plans now while in this glitch? Yes, they can. And actually, just so you know, that has been existent since the beginning. So in 2020, 2017, when I started doing all of this, if somebody was in a carrier and then they needed to switch for whatever reason, you could say coverage is ending this month, so August 30th, and it just gives you a chance to move. Now, up until the last couple of years, you could only move from silver to silver, or bronze to bronze, or gold to gold. You had to stay in that same tier level. Right now, you can switch. Again, I think that will come back, but the marketplace has never, not once, not since 2014, has it ever asked for any kind of documentation if they are already enrolled in the marketplace and you say their coverage is ending. It just gives that SEP. In fact, if you go into the system, I have done it so many now that it's just a habit. I always say their coverage is ending, because when I'm updating their income and you don't say their coverage is ending, do you get the panicked client who gets the letter that says you're not allowed to enroll right now? And then they call you and they're all freaking out. You're like, no, you're already enrolled. You're still enrolled. I just updated. They're just telling you you can't change plans. It causes panic. So I just started saying they're losing coverage. And I also do that for the reason that whatever you say, they're losing coverage, it will automatically make whatever you're changing, income or moving, maybe getting somebody off the plan who needs to, it starts at the first of the next month. So that's the reason I do it. I just always say coverage is ending the 30th or 31st of the month, so that whatever I just did starts the first of the next month. And all of a sudden SEPs were happening all over. So it says, but I've never had a client call me with a document that says, hey, it says I can pick a plan. Like nobody panics on that. They just panic when they see it says you can't enroll and then they think their coverage is ended. Yeah, Maryland, yeah. State exchanges don't have necessarily those glitches. I believe there is some glitches, but I don't know what those are. A lot of, that's a no, but there is a lot. So I've never had an issue with Total Care Mart, so I don't know why it would say that. Oh wait, you have Mark, Total Care Mart, M-A-R-T. Here, I will stick it in the chat for everybody. Like a shopping mart, it's a mart, M-A-R-T. Yeah, so I don't know what that mark gun is, don't go there. What companies do I use for hospital indemnity? I use PALIC, I really like, which is Philadelphia American Life Insurance Company, PALIC. I've used Manhattan. I have not used the Allstate one or Pivot, but I haven't, I like Allstate. I think they're decent, but just like everybody else, you kind of get your favorite, and that's the one that you typically use. So I use PALIC a lot. List of the drug companies you use. I also have a few. I don't have drug companies I use. I just Pram. That's the one I've used. Somebody else, GTL. Yep, they've got a hospital indemnity. So they all are typically the same. I base it on what my clients tell me when it comes for claims. How easy is it to get the claims? Do they have to fight? Are they sending multiple paperwork? So that's typically what I do. Yeah, Brian, they can switch between. Yep. And if you switch, your client needs to understand if they're going from Blue Cross to, United, their deductible starting over, right? They don't get to move that. So there needs to be a real reason for doing that. Oops, I signed them up for the wrong plan. Or I think somebody posted once, they actually used Health Sherpa to look up the doctor. And on Health Sherpa it said the doctor was in the network, but in reality it wasn't. Don't ever use Health Sherpa to look up the doctor. And they just were in the wrong plan. Okay, so does Pram still charge a fee to be signed up as a registered agent? I haven't paid that fee. I go through an FMO. I go through North American Life to get that one, and I've never paid a fee. So I can't answer to that. Oh, so you have a client who changed her income in good faith to reflect the increase. Her premium increased, correct? And it won't let her change a plan. That's because you didn't say their coverage was ending. She would like to find something more cost effective. How do I get around this? And Tabitha said same thing. So I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't increase anybody's income. And you're like, what? Don't do it. I created a whole class, especially if they are in a CSR. If they are in a cost sharing reduction plan in the silver, do not increase their income in this year. Do a calculation, run a quote saying, okay, your income is this. This is what the new tax credit would be. And the difference is $100 a month. I'm just throwing an easy number out there. So I can do two things. I can go in right now and update so you pay more, or just know at tax time, you're going to pay $1,200 and we don't have to mess with it. Let them decide. If they say, well, yeah, I'm not great with money, I won't have $1,200 at tax time. Could you go in there right now and update it? You go in there, you hit update application. You change their income by $1. Say their coverage is ending at the end of the month. Then when you're about to select the plan, there's a button that says, should I use all of my tax credit? Unclick that button and change the tax credit to the right amount. So if they were getting $400 of tax credit and they should only be getting $300, change it. And now they're going to pay the higher amount, but they stay in the same plan. This is because devastation on people to do it differently.
They lost the cost share reduction, though. They had gotten a notice that they were losing the cost share reduction.
Because they increased the income. Go back there, put their income back and change her tax credit.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
That makes sense. That's why I said don't update it. They do want to pay more. I get it because they, less at tax time. go in there, update the application, put it back to what it was, so they stay in that cost sharing reduction, and then just adjust how much tax credit they're taking. Take less so that they pay the right amount. Because here's the bad thing, and my class that I've talked about that I have that you all are welcome to go to, I have a class just on CSRs. If you take no other class of mine, it's $150. Take that one, because that will save people that are at the lower income. Maybe they just got a raise. It will save them from being devastated. And we are so way over time, so you guys can leave any time, but Brian, he didn't pay fees, could be an FMO thing. Yep. So there's Josh, my brother, he's on here, Josh George. What are the pharmacy ones that you use? Because I'm not doing it as much as he is. So you have, I know there's GoodRx, there's the Amazon. You've looked up some others.
GoodRx and Single Care.
That's it. Single
are the two big ones. And if you look in the right spots, part of educating the clients, especially if they're worried about those medications, because some people just are, right now in the right spots, certain Kroger's, certain Myers around us, Hy-Vee over in Minnesota, man, with Single Care, you can get 90-day prescriptions of statins and some of those other little ones, omeprazole, the generics for like $10, $6. It's a fantastic deal. And then it puts their mind at ease for those short-term plans.
And then who's the guy? He's the rich guy who wants to have a prescription company.
Mark Cuban.
It's the Mark Cuban, but I think his are generics, right?
Mark Cuban does really well with some that actually get a little bit higher than some of the generics. He's competitive, but for a lot of us around in Sheboygan, it just in Wisconsin, they want to be able to drive down the road.
Yep. All of these nuggets are in my course, Brian. You're asking, yes, and they're stretched out. They're a whole lot more. Like I take all of these nuggets and they're like 30 minutes. I walk you through so much on there. I am really proud of, I have to admit, I'm really very proud of my course because I worked hard, as my staff around here knows, for January. I was trying to get these recorded. I am the type of teacher who shows you. So Jill, you like visuals. I am too. I have PowerPoints. I take you to healthcare or Health Sherpa and I walk you right through it. All of that kind of stuff. So if you would like somebody ask for the link, I will put that link on there right now. Or the link. Again, these trainings, you don't have to be a part of that. I don't want anybody to ever think that in order for me to do this, this is just you. Anybody can come to these classes, or this weekly meeting. But if you would like a deep dive, there's the link. And for my Zoom people, I will give you a coupon. All right, it's a 50% off coupon called New Agent. If you put that in any course, even the 150, or if you take all of them, it's 50% off. So yeah, Brian, nobody does it my way, partly because there's FMOs trying to teach you, right? Or insurance companies. One of our most excellent insurance companies in this area, Common Ground, I have finally, it's been 10 years, I have finally got them to start asking me how the marketplace works. Because the insurance companies see it from the back end. They're coming in this way while we're seeing it all in the front. They don't know what we see. They don't even know how it works. They only know what they can do. So I want to teach you that. I want you to be the expert. I want you to save your clients money when they need it, right? I want you to protect your clients. So thank you, Brian. Anybody else? There's the link to the class. It's do it at your own pace. If you do the whole course, there's 5 classes, then you get to talk to me one-on-one. And then there's another 5 classes and we get to have another one-on-one. So, and I will be updating. I got to put the CMS one. I just have to find time, which will probably be next week. The CMS regulations. You have access to my documents and all of that stuff is in that class. Thank you all so much. Again, we always go over, should I make these an hour long? I don't know, maybe I should. Or maybe that'll be next year or maybe October, because October is right, all the open enrollment stuff. So thank you very much. It's a tax write-off, yeah, because it's a business expense. So if you buy it, that's a tax deduction. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of the week. I will send out the link to this shortly, and I will talk to you soon. Next week. Remember, if you're afraid of ACA, so this was a live one, I want you to tell me, I've got a couple emails, but I really want you to tell me what you're thinking of. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of the week.